Hello, and thank you for joining this free search engine optimization training. We're talking today about how consumers start the buying process online, and the biggest question is, are they finding your website? So put yourself in the driver's seat as the consumer. You're interested in something. What do you do? Well, for most of us, we've got a phone in front of us in our pocket, right? Or we're going to jump on our computer real quick, and what are we going to do then? We're going to look something up, right? Hey, I wonder about X products and services. So I'm going to go check that out. So now think about that for how customers engage with your business or your competitors even. When they go to do a search because they're starting their buying journey, they're turning to their phones, their tablets, their computers, they're looking around and they are searching. And where do those search roads lead to? Well, typically they all lead to the first page of Google, don't they? In fact, the vast majority of consumers, they start their buying process online. And when they make their way online, they find their way to that first page of Google. The vast majority of clicks that happen are not only are they on the first page, but they're actually on the organic rankings. Now, the organic rankings are a little bit lower on the page. They're not sponsored or anything like that. They're simply listings with a title and a description. Now, this is different than advertisements on Google. In fact, a lot of customers will say, hey, I already know all about search engine optimization. And we might say, well, okay, well, what does that mean to you? It's those ads on Google, they say. Well, search engine optimization is completely different than those ads on Google, quote unquote, there, right? So those ads on Google are known as search engine marketing, or in other words, paid ads or pay per click. You might hear different names there. And these are the sponsored listings. And in this case, it's showing up in the upper left-hand side here as a sponsored listing there. Now, with the sponsored listing or a pay per click, it's just as it sounds. Each time that a consumer is clicking on that ad, it's eating into that ad budget. And once the budget is eaten up with the amount of clicks, that ad disappears. Well, wouldn't it be great if your business could show up and stay on that first page of Google, regardless of your ad budget or spend or anything there, right? And so that's where search engine optimization comes into play. Now, don't get me wrong, paid ads absolutely have their place. And if that's a conversation you'd love to have, we'd love to hear what you have to say about that. But for this conversation here today, we're talking about the organic rankings. And there's typically about 10 organic ranking spots on each page of Google. And the vast majority of those clicks that are happening on that first page are on the organic rankings. Now, let's not overlook the local map packs. Those are more of a proximity location-based result there that might appear for what you're searching for. So something a little bit more near you, near your proximity there. But for this conversation, the vast majority of it, we're talking about the organic rankings, which are found a little bit lower down on the page of that first page of Google. Now, I hope at this time, the ideas there might be turning in your head of how is your business showing up when you search for your products and services that you have to offer, that you specialize in, or when a consumer does, where does your business show up? Okay, so this is all leading to why your business needs to be on that first page of Google, because very few people are going to go to page 2. Because if I don't find what I'm looking for in that search, do I get upset at Google? Not usually. Usually I'm going to say, okay, well, I wasn't specific enough. Let me refine my search. Or sometimes Google might suggest something, maybe a misspelling or a typo or whatnot when I search. And so I might refine my search to get more specific about what I'm looking for. So all this has to do with the organic rankings. All this leads to what we call search engine optimization, or SEO for short. Now, when we define SEO or search engine optimization, we define it as the work that goes into getting a website on the first page of Google. Okay, so think about that for a moment. SEO is the work that goes into getting a website on that first page of Google. As you think about that, you might say, well, that's okay. I've already got my website. I've done a lot of work to it. Okay, well, we applaud that. In fact, if your website is something that you're working on, if it's something you're updating, we couldn't tell you how many umpteen times we've heard a potential client or even a current client say, I'm working on it. Just get it done. Because unless you're doing search engine optimization and the work that goes into getting your website on Google, most likely people aren't going to find it. And that's usually the hesitation why websites aren't updated or they aren't launched, or people actually don't invite their potential customers to go to their website is because it's not something that they're proud of, or they're in the middle of working on it and they want it to be perfect before it's published. Well, unless you are doing search engine optimization and unless your potential client is typing your exact website address, your URL, they're probably not going to see your site. They're probably going to see a competitor's site. So at this point, what we'd recommend is simply to get your website done. Just get it done, push it live and online, because the work that goes into building your actual website, your logo, your color, your photos, your bios, and all that information, the content about the products and services that you have to offer, that's the work that goes into building the actual site. Now, once it's built and pushed live, now we're talking about where search engine optimization comes in, and that's the work that goes into getting a website on Google. So hopefully you're able to see that clear distinction between the work that goes into building your site versus the work that goes into getting your site on Google. Now, we would put that back to you. What work have you done to get your website on Google? Did you simply push it to the World Wide Web and, clap your hands and say, hey, I'm there? Or were you able to do some additional work? Now, you might be wondering, well, you keep saying this work that goes into getting my website on Google. What does that mean? Well, let's talk about that. Specifically, Google is looking for two elements for the websites that they allow to be listed in the organic rankings on that first page. The first one is, does Google think your site is a relevant source of information? Okay, a relevant source of information. And the second one is, does Google trust your site? So in other words, relevance and trust. Does Google see your website as both those things, this combination? Well, you might think, well, relevant, like, I am my business. I specialize in my products and services. Of course, it's a relevant source of information. Now, you and I visually might look at your site and say, hey, this thing looks great. Nice job. But the question is, does Google think your site is a relevant source of information? Does Google think your site is great? Well, how does Google think your site is great? What do you need to do? What is this work? Well, let's dive just a little bit deeper without getting too into the weeds here. We're talking about relevance equals what is on your actual website. Now, again, you and I look at your site and might think that it looks great. When Google looks at your site, they're looking at it from a different set of eyes, more of a computerized set of eyes, right? So they're looking at the code that goes into building your site. They're looking at the content that goes into the site. They're looking at how fast your site loads, how mobile friendly your site is. Does it look great on your phone or your tablet or your computer? They're looking at the Google Analytics that you might have in there. Do you have a Google Maps listing? And then also, are your videos, images, and some of the content on there, is the text updated in a way that Google needs to see it? What I mean by that, does Google just see a bunch of blank space on your site because you've got several images and videos, but did you simply just take them off your phone and just leave it whatever they were named? Meaning image underscore 1234. Isn't that typically what our phones and cameras do to our images, right? They just name it whatever, it's been programmed to name them. Or have you gone in and renamed and retagged and given it an alternative description of what that is? These are my products and services, and we're great at doing these things, near this location, right? So those are the types of things that Google is looking for, and that's all leading to making your site a relevant source of information, and that relevance is found what's actually on your website. Now, expanding out from this is trust. Does Google trust your site? And trust comes from off of your website. In other words, off-site search engine optimization. Now, that trust is going to come in the form of a third-party website with a link that links from that site back to your site. Now, you might hear the term backlink, and that's exactly what we're talking about here. Now, we're not talking about what we are not talking about is spamming the internet with a bunch of links, right? Like Google's a whole lot smarter than that, come a really, really long way. And they continue to evolve and get smarter about these types of things. So we're talking about links from trusted third-party sources that are carrying the conversation about your industry in general, about maybe a product or service that you might offer. And that is a trusted source of information linking from one site back to yours in the way that Google needs to see that link back. Okay, so if someone wrote an article about your business or industry or anything along those lines, products and services that you have to offer, and then it simply links from their site back to yours. If there's an article that's already been published and someone goes in and makes a comment about how great these types of products and services are, oh, and by the way, if you're looking for a resource, check out this website, which just happens to be yours. Might be a way to go. Okay, we're all probably familiar with blogs, right? A lot of information that we can go through and a lot of great tips about products, services, industries that might list them in general and then link back to yours, or you might have a blog on your actual website. There's also elements of website bookmarking or infographics or even local business directories. Now, with the local business directory, something to keep in mind here is that Google wants consistency across the board. They want consistency. Well, what does that consistency consist of, right? And so think to yourself, if your business address location, if your name, address, and phone number is listed somewhere, is it listed that same way across the board through all your different business directory profiles? In fact, did you know that there's dozens and dozens and dozens of local business profiles that are listed out on the World Wide Web in your local area that could showcase your business? Did you know that there's that many? There's a lot. And so not only is your business listed there, but is it listed consistent across the board? Meaning if your business address was at 200 North, is 200 North spelled out the same way across the board? Capital N, lowercase ORTH, or is it capital N, lowercase o, or is it capital N, lowercase o, period, or is it capital N, period, or is it lowercase n, or N period, right? So a lot of technical, ways of looking at it, but that's what Google's looking for, is consistency across the board. And if they find that your business is not consistent across the board, who are they going to give as a result to someone searching for a product and service that they have to offer that's going to be relevant and trustworthy? Well, probably your competitors, those that are doing things in alignment with the way that Google wants to see them. Okay. And so we talked about some of these things about relevance and trust, we're talking about a process here, right? And a lot of times, with the internet day and age, I see it, I like it, I want it, I get it, right? And so we want to make sure that we're doing things the way that Google needs to see them. And it's more of a marathon approach when it comes to search engine optimization. It's not an overnight success. Now, if that's something that you're looking for, perhaps search engine marketing, like paid ads and whatnot, is something that you might consider in the meantime. But search engine optimization and paid ads and other forms of advertising absolutely go hand in hand. Now, search engine optimization is more the marathon approach, going to take a little bit longer, but your business is going to be able to show up on those organic rankings if you're doing things in the right way. So part of that is to consider who you're partnering with throughout this whole process, and make sure that they're going to take a look at your website and get a current situation of what that looks like. How does your website look right now? How is the keyword selection on your website? Do you have keywords embedded into your site? And do you have some of these other elements of relevancy on your site that are being showcased there? And through that initial discovery there, what you're going to find is a few gaps that you might have. Okay, so that's where on-site optimization comes in. Now, we're not necessarily saying that you need a whole brand new website. More often than not, that's not the case. You do not need a brand new website. However, if you're looking to do a new website, if you've been thinking about that for a long time, that's something you want a direction that you want to go, let's have that conversation. But if you have that existing website, a lot of times we're able to optimize that existing website. And again, you're probably proud of the help and hard work that you put into your website, or that you've received to make that website what it is. And now it's just doing a few little tweaks to make sure that Google also thinks that it's great. So this is the on-site optimizations to make it what? A relevant source of information. Once that foundation, so to speak, is laid, now we can start building that off-site optimization. And so that's the trust that we're talking about. That's the relevance that we're talking about. You want to make sure that whoever you partner with is going to provide the work that they're doing and showing you and give you some real-time reporting about what's going on. Reason that I mentioned that is a lot of clients that we work with will tell us, hey, you know what, I really liked my last SEO person. However, they spoke a different language and I didn't know what they were doing. They'd send me an update or two a month, but it was like just something that I was like, what is this? I don't even know what this means or what you're telling me. It's really techy. And I'm an expert in my space, not SEO, and that's why I hired you. But I also still want to have a pulse on what's going on. Just make sure that whoever you partner with is going to be able to translate that into to simple terms, so that you can still be the expert in your space, but still have a pulse on what's going on. And this combination of all this work happening is going to do what the purpose of SEO is, and that's to improve your rankings on Google. That's what the purpose is. Now we need your help. We need your accountability to come in. We need to make sure that your team is ready to go, so that when calls or inquiries or chats or emails start coming into your business, that your team is trained on what specials do you have on your website? What is the call to action on the website? What other advertising are you doing? Are they trying to put a smile on through the phone of every engagement, or a happy tone through every chat or email conversation that they might have? Okay, and making sure that they're able to capture and convert those additional inquiries into sales for your business. So as we get into this next step here, usually a lot of times people are asking us, well, this sounds fantastic, but you mentioned it's the marathon approach. I don't want to wait that long. Like, is it really that long? Well,
how long is this process going to take? What we're really looking at here is our ultimate goal is to get you ranking in about 6 months. Now, it is a process. So to make your site relevant, or to finish that site that you're building, or to update that site that you're working on, or to just understand what optimizations need to be done, you're probably looking at that like the first month or two to get the relevance of your site dialed in. And sometimes that means getting a new website, but more often than not, it's just updating your existing website in the way that Google needs to see it updated as a relevant source of information. That's going to lay that foundation, as I mentioned, so that we can start building trust. And once we lay that foundation, we start building that trust, we start doing that offsite work. That then over the next several months, we're going to see that purpose of SEO kick in, which is to improve the rankings of your website. And that's when you're going to see that additional increase in rankings. And the ultimate goal is to get your website ranking within about 6 months. Sometimes it takes 6 to 8 months, 6 to 9, 6 to 12 months, depending on, well, what we're going to talk about next, which is usually the first question that our customers ask when we get into a search engine optimization conversation. But once you do get to that first page, you want to make sure that you're continuing to dominate your competition. And usually only about that time is when it's going to make sense to shift up some of the keywords that you're targeting and focusing on. Because now that you've got a good foothold here and Google trusts your site, they see it as a relevant source of information, then maybe it makes sense to shift up some of those keywords to expand your reach, to start dominating for additional keywords that you can be found for about products and services in your industry that you have to offer your customers on that first page of Google. And as I mentioned, this is usually the first question that we get. How much is SEO and why should we buy it from you? Well, if we're to kind of look at it this way, we would actually kind of put it back on you as the business owner. Think about this for yourself. More important than how much SEO costs and why you should buy it is, why are you thinking about doing SEO in the first place? Kind of actually what's caused you to even get to this point right here in considering search engine optimization as part of your business and marketing tactics, right? So what does that look like for your business? Obviously, there's got to be a reason why. And if you're kind of like some of these businesses that we work with, for example, in the smaller market, smaller competitive industry, smaller budget is what's required. That's really what goes into the cost of SEO, market competitiveness and industry competitiveness. And these types of smaller businesses, they really pride themselves on word of mouth referrals. They've built their business on word of mouth referrals, these relationships that they have, that they trust, and they want more customers just like their favorite customers. And when a customer has a great experience, they're going to tell a handful of their friends. If they have a bad experience, they're going to tell a whole lot more, right? Wish it was the opposite way around, right? We usually we quietly serve, provide a great opportunity for our customers, and they'll tell a handful of people there. And these types of businesses really provided a great experience for their customers, and that's how you've been able to build your business off of referrals. Well, Google is now the word of mouth referral. Google is now the word of mouth referral, whether you're a small business or a larger business. And so if you're in a smaller competitive market, a smaller competitive industry, a smaller budget, it might make more sense for you. So these types of businesses are single location, maybe a couple locations, a handful of employees. Really pride yourself off of building your business off of referrals like we talked about. And as you do, that's where you're probably going to come in from a 5, 10, 15, 20 hour a month. Probably 10 to 20 hours a month of SEO is probably going to do a really, really good job for your business in earning its way to that first page of Google in about 6 months, maybe a little bit longer, depending on what type of budget you have to work with and how competitive your industry is, where you're at, okay? Now, on the flip side of that is the larger market, more competitive industry. A larger budget is naturally what's going to be needed, and that's not just to think, well, how much does SEO cost and why should I buy it from you? But this is simply to put, this is what your competitors are doing, and this is what it's going to take for you to compete in the same space as your competitors that are currently showing up on that first page of Google right now. So to compete there, these types of businesses, what do they look like? Well, you're probably got a single or multiple locations, done a really good job of branding and PR. You probably have a marketing budget that you're currently working with. Sometimes that means radio, TV, streaming type of advertising, pay-per-click, direct mail campaigns, print ad campaigns, newspapers, magazines, and whatnot. And even, of course, search engine optimization. Now, it's kind of like the 401k, right? You want to make sure that you're diversified in your approach, not to put all your eggs in one basket, but make sure that one of those eggs goes into the basket of search engine optimization here. So what types of budget are these types of businesses looking at? Well, you're probably going to be starting at a 20 to 25 hour range on the lower end, ranging all the way up to 40, 50, 60, 80, even 100 hours a month of search engine optimization is not uncommon for these types of businesses that kind of fit that persona in a larger competitive market, larger competitive industry. A larger budget is what's going to take, because as you search for products and services that you have to offer, look at your competitors and who's showing up on that first page. And that's simply what it's going to take to earn your way to that first page of Google as you improve your rankings through relevance and trust over time. And that's exactly what goes into the cost of it. So as we've talked about, we're talking about relevance, and that's going to go into some of the page code enhancements without getting too technical, right? And updating the site the way that Google needs to see it, integrating some of the keywords into the copy, and adding additional content to your site, because content is key. Google loves fresh content. Okay, the other side of that is to build that trust beyond that relevance. And that trust, as we talked about, engaging in articles, website bookmarking, those local business directories and profiles is key. Those third-party blogs talking about the industry in general that links back to your site, or maybe even a custom blog publication that you might have put out there. Infographics and additional content and whatnot. All this goes into building that relevance and trust. Now, whoever you partner with for your search engine optimization campaign, you simply want to make sure that they're going to do the highest quality work that they can for the budget that you have to work with. Okay, the highest quality work that they can for the budget that they have to work with. And that high quality work means quality over quantity. As I mentioned, we're not just spamming the internet with a bunch of keywords and links and everything like that. Google's a whole lot smarter than that, and they keep getting smarter in that direction. And the reason you know that is because they come up with hundreds of updates every single year to their algorithm. Okay, hundreds of updates. Who has the time to be able to keep up with that? Well, we do. But you as the business owner, you're busy putting out fires and working on your business, working in your business in so many ways. So whoever you partner with, you want to make sure that the technology that they use is going to lead to better results. And with those updates that Google has, you're not going to be negatively impacted. Because with those updates, you kind of think about it, Google's trying to serve the end user to bring to you the most relevant source of information for those searches that you have. And so the work that whoever you partner with is going to do the highest quality work that they're going to do. That's what you want to make sure that they're going to do. You also want to make sure that they bring full transparency into the work that they're doing. That transparency is going to come in the form of probably funneling up to a reporting dashboard as simple and easy for the layperson to be able to understand it while you're still running your business and being the expert in your space. You can still have a pulse on what's going on and feel good about where your digital marketing dollars are going in terms of search engine optimization. You want to make sure that whoever you partner with, that it's not going to be too overwhelming for you. Meaning, you're the expert in your space. You probably didn't go into business so you can go and tweak and mess with your website on the weekends, right? You got a lot more important things to do, like being with friends and family, relaxing, and maybe even working on your business during that time. You want to make sure that whoever you partner with is going to be able to assist you with tweaking and updating the website as needed there, or doing the offsite work that's needed to earn that relevance and that trust so that you can improve your rankings over time. And you also want to make sure that whoever you partner with is going to monitor everything that's going on 24/7. As I mentioned, Google has these updates, hundreds a year. Sometimes they're publicized, and more often than not, they're probably not. And as they do, you want to make sure that your website is not going to be negatively impacted with the performance of it, because you're doing the work, the highest quality work that they can for the budget that you have to give towards your search engine optimization campaign. And that work is going to be in alignment with the way that Google needs to see that for your business. Well, this has been a high-level overview of search engine optimization and how consumers start that buying process online. We hope that perhaps this has sparked some questions about what this looks like for your business. And we again would ask, what work have you done to get your business on Google, your website on Google? And that's different than the work that went into building your actual website. So if you have questions, please give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. Hey, thanks so much for watching. We look forward to hearing from you soon.